What actually happens when you truly put God first for 30 consecutive days? And look, we aren't talking about halfway measures here, or just, observing a weekend tradition. The whole premise is about complete daily surrender. It's not about religion or trying to be perfect. It's a fundamental rewiring of your daily focus. Making this one single decision every single day, it doesn't just tweak your schedule. Bible Fix claims it creates this cascading effect that alters your entire life trajectory. To really get the mechanics of this challenge, we have to look at its foundation. The entire argument rests on one specific verse, Matthew 6:33. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. According to the source material, this isn't just some comforting saying to put on a coffee mug, it's an operational blueprint. It's an invitation to completely reorder your life, with this promise that when you prioritize this one principle, everything else we naturally stress over, success, money, relationships, they all just begin to align naturally.
So here's our roadmap for understanding this journey. First, the 30-day spiritual challenge. 2, shifting your daily priorities. 3, finding peace amidst chaos. 4, exposing your hidden idols. 5, strengthening your core faith. And finally, number 6, experiencing total life transformation.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the 30-day spiritual challenge, setting the baseline.
Bible Fix starts off by identifying this super relatable, universal human struggle. Basically, the habit of chasing the completely wrong things to satisfy our deepest needs. I mean, we're all wired to seek validation, joy, and peace. But instead, we settle for modern distractions, don't we? Think about it. We wake up and literally the first thing we do is check our phones, way before even considering a moment of prayer or reflection. We tend to trust our constantly fluctuating emotions way more than established spiritual texts. We chase the money, the success, that human validation, just hoping these external markers will finally fix that internal void. And the source argues that prioritizing these exact distractions over faith is what leads to that endless lack of peace we all feel.
Moving right along to Section 2, shifting your daily priorities, reordering your life.
So when someone actually commits to this daily practice, a radical shift happens in what matters most to them. The things that once felt absolutely critical, they start to lose their grip. And this brilliantly illustrates that shift with a highly relatable analogy, the passenger seat mentality. For years, people might ask God to sit in the passenger seat while they drive the car wherever they want to go, right? Essentially just asking a co-pilot to bless their own plans. But putting God first means moving out of the driver's seat and finally letting him take the wheel. And obviously, when you change who's driving the car, you inevitably change the final destination.
To back up this whole shift in control, the channel points straight to Luke 9:23, where Jesus tells his followers to take up their cross daily. Now, the absolutely crucial word here is daily. This 30-day challenge isn't framed as some one-time emotional high you get at a weekend retreat, no way. It is an intentional, continuous choice that has to be made every single morning. And the claim is that over the course of the month, participants find that prayer actually becomes more important than entertainment, and obedience becomes way more valuable than just staying comfortable.
Which brings us to Section 3, finding peace amidst chaos, stability under pressure.
There's a really common misconception out there that peace only arrives when your life is completely perfect. But the biblical definition of peace, it's all about finding internal stability when your external circumstances are a total mess. To illustrate this, the source looks at the historical figure of Daniel. Talk about pressure. Daniel lived in a deeply corrupt culture, totally surrounded by intense political pressure and this constant temptation to just compromise his beliefs to fit in. Yet what did he do? He maintained his practice of praying 3 times a day. 3 times! He did this even when it was made literally illegal. Because he maintained that baseline priority, fear just couldn't control him. It proves that true internal peace really isn't reliant on external ease.
And that leads us to a pretty fascinating contrast in how we behave. Panicking first versus praying first. Let's be real. The typical worldly reaction to stress, unexpected bills, or just the unknown is immediate panic, full-on worry mode. But the channel highlights Philippians 4:6-7, which actually promises a peace that surpasses understanding when you bring those anxieties to God first. Now, your circumstances or your bills, they probably aren't going to magically disappear over these 30 days. But the argument is that by spending the very first moments of your day in spiritual focus, the worry loses its power. The battle in your mind just gets quieter.
Next up is Section 4, exposing your hidden idols, the uncomfortable truth. So the crucial point is that we are now moving into what's probably the most challenging phase of the whole journey. This is where those deep, hidden, internal attachments are dragged right into the light. When we hear the word idol, most of us instantly picture, ancient golden statues. But Bible Fix defines an idol super simply. It's anything that takes God's place in your heart. For us today, that could be money, social media, a relationship, career success, or just this constant, exhausting need for approval. The source notes that in Exodus, God explicitly says to have no other gods before him, simply because he absolutely refuses to compete for first place.
Now, exposing these idols, it's painful. Think about the biblical story of the rich young ruler. He literally walked away sad because he just couldn't let go of his wealth. It was his true idol. The channel compares this process to a doctor diagnosing a hidden disease early enough to actually heal it. Hearing that diagnosis might hurt a lot, but it ultimately saves your life. These unhealthy attachments aren't exposed to punish you. They're exposed to clear out the space so it can be filled with a spiritual presence that actually satisfies.
All right, moving on to Section 5, strengthening your core faith, trusting beyond emotions.
Okay, so once those idols are exposed, the next phase is all about actively building spiritual muscle. Because let's face it, mature faith cannot rely on fluctuating emotions. It absolutely requires consistent action, especially on the hard days. Take the historical precedent of Abraham. According to Hebrews 11:8, God told Abraham to pack up and leave his homeland without showing him the full plan or even the final destination up front. No roadmap at all. Yet, by faith, Abraham obeyed. He trusted the directive before ever seeing the outcome. And the source argues that this is the exact muscle you're building during the 30-day challenge. You are learning to trust and obey way beyond what you can currently see or feel.
Let's move to and see how this builds in practical, everyday terms. It really all comes down to small acts of daily obedience. We're talking about waking up early to pray even when you're completely exhausted, choosing to forgive someone when every feeling in your body is screaming at you to hold a grudge, stopping those tiny, everyday moral compromises, choosing obedience when literally nobody else is watching. Every single one of these small acts is exactly like a rep in the gym. They are strengthening those spiritual muscles. Over time, the source says these disciplined actions cause your trust to grow so much stronger than your fear.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 6, experiencing total life transformation, the ultimate result.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we're looking at the true culmination of this 30-day practice. The claim here is that putting God first doesn't just improve one isolated little corner of your life. No, it acts as a catalyst that impacts absolutely everything. And the ultimate proof of this transformation is illustrated through the historical figure of Saul. Before his surrender, Saul was frankly violent. He was spiritually blind, actively persecuting early Christians. But after his encounter and his total surrender, he became Paul, the man who is fundamentally responsible for spreading the gospel across nations. It's an extreme example for sure, but it's used to show that true surrender has the power to transform anyone's mindset, their habits, and their entire identity.
This brings us right back to the core thesis of the whole philosophy, which is summarized just perfectly by John 15:5. Without me, you can do nothing. Real, lasting transformation, it just doesn't come from trying harder all by yourself. It's not about white-knuckling your way to better habits or forcing a change. According to Bible Fix, true change happens entirely from the inside out, and it is only made possible through a daily, deeply connected relationship with the divine.
Which leaves us with this final thought, based on all the material we've just unpacked today. Take a hard look at how you structure your time, your focus, and your energy right now. Are your current daily priorities actually leading you to the peace, the purpose, and the life you genuinely want? Or are hidden idols actually steering the wheel? It's a really challenging question from the source material, and one that is well worth considering as you reflect on what it means to truly put first things first. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.